A long, long time ago, from a podcast far, far away, three wise warriors banded together to bring you this very special episode on May the 4th. It is the Directed by Dean podcast starring its three fellow Jedis. I'm sorry, two Jedis and one Sith.
Yep.
This first Jedi,
The question is, who's the Sith and who's the Jedi?
this first Jedi is your host for the day, taking Dean's temporary spot. My name is Joseph Barra, and I'm always honored to be here. And next to me is a very, very, very amazing Jedi, one who is worthy of the moniker because he has created the Directed by Dean podcast. He is the Dean of the Directed by Dean podcast, who will hence be forth known as Obi-Wan Denobi, Dean himself.
Yes, and Joe, don't forget you are Jace Windu for the night.
Yes, that's right. I am Jace Windu. And who we also have is our youngling turned Sith Lord, our big critic, who I'm very curious to see what he thought about all nine Star Wars movies and where he is going to place him. Our lovely, you may know him as Sam, but for today we will call him Poe Samron.
Hello, Joe. Thank you. You're not going to be happy with today. I can't
I
lie.
really want to know what his Sith name would be,
I'm so curious. So
Yeah.
today is
Oh,
May
oh,
the
hold on,
4th.
I've got it. How about Asajj Samtress?
Saj Samtress.
I don't know.
Asajj
I don't know
Samtress.
who that is. I'm not a Star Wars fan.
She was one of the. In fact, she was the protege of Count Dooku, who was sent to eliminate Anakin Skywalker. Depending on which Clone Wars you watch,
Oh, I don't watch Clone Wars, so no one
Really
will
good
Clone
know.
Wars is
series.
exquisite. It's
It
an
is very
exquisite
good.
cartoon series.
So
I know what
anyway,
it is.
we are doing this special episode because today is May the 4th, which
Or
is National Star
or
Wars Day.
Revenge of the Six.
Yep.
We
So
do
that
have three to
holds
choose from, just in case anything happens.
because Star Wars is that popular. And on this episode, I want to first get our three opinions on where the Star Wars movies stand as far as rank, which again, coming from very different perspectives. Also, big topic I'd like to discuss. It is the year 2024. Star Wars came out in 1977. This franchise has been going on for almost 50 years. So, gentlemen, I want to hear from you both. I have my own reasons. What do you guys think makes Star Wars so special that from the years 1977 to 2024, it's only growing in popularity?
In the early days, Darth Vader, who didn't want
Darth
a,
Vader.
who didn't want a 7 foot Sith, who just basically looked around at two dead bodies on the floor, no emotion, and just walked on.
Mm-hmm.
The very first scene in Star Wars, I actually think, is the most powerful scene in Star Wars.
Oh, you mean when Vader just walks onto the ship and
Yeah, he just walks onto the ship, just looks at two dead bodies, just goes meh, and then just walks on.
yeah, very played by the great David Prowse and voiced by James Earl Jones.
Little
A
bit
great
of
comedy.
little bit of trivia that you might not know. David Prowse could not keep a secret. So, as we all know, when he said, "I am your father," he was actually told that Obi-Wan is his father.
Oh my gosh. That would have been quite the twist.
It would have been funny though as well, but I'm kind of glad that he didn't.
And here's a little Star Wars story for you. And I feel so bad for David Prowse. Not only did he barely get any credit for being the body of Darth Vader, James Earl Jones got like literally all the credit. I mean, his voice work is, it speaks for itself. But poor David Prowse not only didn't get any credit, but when he went to the premiere for episode 4, they did not tell him that his voice was getting replaced. And there's clips of his voice online. You can look it up. I obviously see why they changed the voice. Dean, Sam, if you guys haven't looked at it, I encourage you to. It will change the way you would look at Darth Vader. He actually sounds almost like Dark Helmet from Spaceballs,
I was
which is
gonna,
where I think they got the idea.
I was going to say I've heard David Prowse's voice, and that's
Mhm.
the reason why I don't need to watch it because I cannot imagine David Prowse having a Darth Vader voice.
It would have changed Star Wars. I think if they kept David Prowse's voice, Star Wars would not be where it is because Darth Vader would not be able to be taken seriously with that voice.
I
Although,
wouldn't.
having said that, I really hope that just because Disney has the content, Sam's laughing right now. Did you just watch it?
Oh,
What do you?
that is terrible.
It's
Yeah.
so. I feel so bad for like laughing at it because David Prowse did such a good job with the physicality, but man, I give the actors so much more credit because they were able to still act and be intimidated by this guy with that voice. Oh gosh. Now correct me if I'm wrong, Sam. If they kept that voice, I don't think Star Wars would be where it is today.
No, no, everyone would just be pissing themselves every time it talks. I think
Yeah.
it's brilliant.
It would have been like a Star Wars version of You've Been Framed or Punked.
I
Oh,
think they should release a version where they don't change the voice; they just leave it as
I
it
was just
was.
gonna say that now that it's on Disney Plus, they should release 4, 5, and 6 with David Prowse's voice because I think everyone just get a great laugh.
Yeah,
But
at his
oh,
expense, though. He wouldn't like that.
well, I think David Prowse is sadly. I don't think he's with us anymore. I think he
He isn't
passed.
though. Although,
Yeah.
saying that, can you imagine David Prowse's voice replacing James Earl Jones's in Obi-Wan season one?
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that would be so funny. I would love to see it. But so we got a little bit of Dean's perspective. Sam, I'm curious to hear, especially from your point of view, because you're the young one, you're the youngling here. Why do you think Star Wars has been able to go on for almost 50 years and only rise in popularity?
Um, I've never really thought about that as such, mainly because I'm not, as I've mentioned, the biggest of Star Wars fans.
Mhm.
I'd probably assume it's the fact that being a nerd is just a lot more popular than it used to.
And cool
That is
as
fair.
well.
That is fair. Being a nerd now is very cool and attractive.
As Henry Cavill very well knows, because he's both.
Absolutely, he is. I think I think Star Wars is popular. There's so many reasons. I mean, reason number one, a villain like Darth Vader with that voice. I think a big reason is lightsabers. I mean, how is a laser sword just not cool? And imagine back in 1977 seeing the effects of like the lightsaber looking all cool. Like, also, George Lucas did a phenomenal job with establishing the Star Wars universe as like never ending, as there's always something more to discover with all the planets, and we're only focusing on this one story. So I think the sheer vastness of it all is what brings the audiences in. And the element of the Force, their classic good versus evil, it has so much that's carried on. So that's why I think Star Wars has and always will be popular. And clearly, Disney buying Star Wars, they're going to show no sign of slowing down, which now kind of brings me to my next topic. We're going to keep this podcast episode focused on just the 9 movies because if we're going to talk about all the series and the movie tie-ins, we can be here all day. So, gentlemen, and Sam, I already know you're not a big Star Wars fan, so I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this aspect. We had originally when Star Wars came out 4, 5, and 6, although they weren't called episodes yet. Then I think Return of the Jedi came out in 80,
Three. It was
84,
83 because that was the
83.
year I was born.
So about, gosh, like 13 or 14 years later, we had then episode 1 come out, the prequels, as they were so called, which targeted my generation because Star Wars episode 1 was the first movie I've ever seen. And then about, gosh, 97, I think episode 1 came out. So, gosh, like 20 some odd years later, suddenly then you have the sequel trilogy after Disney bought Star Wars. Disney chose to ignore the books, ignore the lore,
Yeah.
and say nothing exists except for what we bought, ignoring the Clone Wars cartoon as well,
Which they
and said,
can't.
we got this, and we're going to do our own sequel trilogy. Now, I'll be the first to say I think it's horrendous. It's
I
horrible.
think it's
There's nothing to further the franchise. The worst writing imaginable. All the little moments that we wanted to see growing up, for whatever reason, they chose not to give it to us. They chose to have the worst lightsaber fights known to man, even though the prequels raised the bar on those. So for me, I think the sequel trilogies Disney did horrible with. I think
yeah.
they know they did a bad job with them. Mark Hamill, there's even, Sam, if you haven't seen this, it's kind of funny. Type in Mark Hamill trashing The Last Jedi.
Yeah,
He's
he's not a big fan of it.
on interviews, he
I'm
literally
not a big
says
fan of
about
it.
saying how bad this movie isn't that he doesn't like the direction. Actually, a statement was released publicly. I'll never forget this. Mark Hamill said he read the script of The Last Jedi. He went to the director. He said, I'm just going to let you know, I completely disagree with everything you're doing, but it's my job as the actor to bring your vision to life, so I will do that. And I think Mark Hamill was speaking for all of us fans when he said that. And my gosh, was he not wrong? All we wanted to see in the sequels was just Luke, Han, and Leia in the same room.
Mhm.
They couldn't give us that because for some reason they thought it was a good idea to deprive us of that.
Yeah.
They thought it'd be a good idea to end the final movie with a lie because
Mhm.
Rey's not a Skywalker. She's somehow a Palpatine. Because whatever happened to Palpatine's son or daughter that had Rey, I guess it's not important to find out, whatever.
No.
And we still don't know how Palpatine survived, except in their amazing writing and their incredible attention to detail. All we got was somehow, Palpatine survived, thinking that it would be revealed to us later on, but it wasn't
Wasn't.
because the writing was just that good. Um, you literally have, in I think The Last Jedi, two acts of defying the physics that Star Wars even created. Number one being jumping a ship to light speed and ramming it through a ship,
Mhm.
which by that logic, they could have just set an X-wing on autopilot right to the
Yeah,
Death
done it
Star,
that way.
and episode
How
four
Star
just would
Trek
have
would
been
have done
done.
it.
Yeah, that's so that horrible idea, although it looked beautiful the way they did it, but horrible idea. And also, somebody pointed this out to me and I laughed so hard. In The Last Jedi, granted, I've only seen it twice.
I've seen it once, and once was enough.
That when I saw it the second time is when I realized it was a bad movie. I mean, once I wanted to believe in it because I love Star Wars so much. But then when me and my ex saw it, I'm like, this is a bad film. I want to like it, but I can't. The scene where they're all flying back at the very end, Finn turns around and heroically sacrifices himself. Keep in mind, Finn is going one direction. The other ships are all going the opposite direction. So Finn's going full force the opposite direction. It does not make any sense whatsoever, but somehow that Asian lady, I forget her character's name because everyone
I
in
think
that
it's
movie said
Rose.
Yeah,
Rose.
no, I seem to
Yeah.
remember she was the
She
character of
was
this name when
able
it came out.
she was able to somehow not only catch up to him, but speed up past him to then fly perpendicular to him to hit his ship off target when he was going to sacrifice himself. Now, unless if by Fast and the Furious terms, her ship had some nitrous oxide, some NOS to boost her ship, I don't know how the heck she did that. Nor will they explain to us how she did that, nor did they explain to us how she did that. An opportunity, I know I'm going off right now in the sequel
No, it's all
trilogies,
right. I'm glad you're doing it and not me.
because in The Last Jedi, they had what could have been a cool moment
Mhm.
where they could have had the Force ghosts of Mace Windu, Anakin, Obi-Wan. They could have had all that instead of just their voices to encourage Rey, which would have been so cool. But for whatever reason, they didn't do it. And also, they had Ahsoka's voice in there, which I think Dave Filoni said, "Why do you have her voice there? She's not dead." So I love that. So the sequel trilogy, this is my last piece of it before I move it on to you guys. They clearly had no vision. They clearly did not have a plan of where to take this trilogy. It seems like they just had an idea for the first one, The Force Awakens, and then they hired somebody else with no vision to take it a completely different way. And then for the last movie, it seems that everything that they try to do with The Last Jedi, they try to veer back on track to make it fit their supposed vision, but all they ended up doing was wasting so much time and making a crap film. Now I pass it along to you guys. I know I just kind of went off there,
That's all
but to
right.
pass it on to you all.
To be honest with you, Joe's kind of said everything, so I'm going to limit my response to what Jeremy Clarkson would say on Top Gear if he didn't like something. So the entire trilogy is a mess. There's no writing whatsoever. There's no structure. The dialogue is laughable. The characters are not lovable at all. The action kind of makes me wish I was alive in 1977. The lightsaber fights did not thrill me. Killing off Han Solo was the worst idea they could have had.
Awful.
Yeah.
And the
Uh,
lightsaber fight, since you just brought it up, they sucked.
It is.
They were horrible. And here you had episode 3 ending with definitely the greatest
I'm
lightsaber
going to say
fight.
the greatest lightsaber fight, and I do remember all the training they went through for that, and
Mhm.
it was as near enough makes no difference. It was probably one that no actor would wish to endure, but they both did, and I
They,
commend them for
endur-
that.
they rehearsed it so much. Hayden says he still remembers the choreography.
Yeah, it was that bad.
Yeah,
Well, not so much
but
that
it
bad,
was
but
so
that's
worth it.
how much they had to do it. But yeah, 7 was just, I think I've said this many a time. Episode 7 was just episode 4, but shitter. Last Jedi was literally, what the hell are we going to do with this? So we'll just wing it. I hate the disrespect towards Mark Hamill and Luke Skywalker. And episode 9 was just a complete and utter waste of time. The only thing good about it was Lando Calrissian was in it, and that was it. Everything else
Yeah,
was just garbage.
that was cool to see. Because, in storytelling, when you go through a story, you have the reward. And the reward is seeing the characters reaping the benefits of the journey that they just went on. Luke, episodes 4, 5, and 6, went through this incredible journey, defeated the Empire, brought balance to the Force, brought peace to the galaxy. And all we wanted to see was this Master Jedi Luke Skywalker being a badass and doing what he does best, reaping the rewards of literally defeating the Empire. And what do we see? He ran away.
Yeah,
And I'm like, what?
a bit of senile old man.
Yeah, like, and it's like Luke's character growth, they ignored it completely. So to me, even though they did come out, those sequel trilogies do not exist. It ends after 6. I'm enjoying Mandalorian, and I
Oh,
love that
that's
Dave
brilliant.
Filoni. Mandalorian is fantastic,
It is.
and I love that we're not even talking about. Yeah, it just doesn't exist.
Although saying that, if we do this next year, I recommend we do another 10 lots on the whole.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're gonna
so
have to include more.
yeah, so I say Clone Wars, both batches of Clone Wars, Bad Batch, solo story, and anything else that we haven't had a look at yet.
Oh, I agree. But
I'm going to let
here,
you two stick to that. I'd rather probably just die than
I
watch
was gonna
more Star
say
Wars.
But you
Sam
see,
here is
you're
gonna
not
have.
watching quality television. Bad Batch is probably some of the best animated stuff, and the Clone Wars, regardless of whether you like Star Wars or not, they are absolutely brilliant in terms of storytelling. And not to mention the Rebels' fight between Ahsoka and Darth Vader is probably the second best lightsaber fight that you can have.
Yeah, but I'm
It does
surprised
such
that I've
great
survived
storytelling.
this week.
So
I
yeah,
don't know how
Sam,
I'm alive.
your thoughts now.
I'm gonna
Compared
say
to
let's because Sam's probably got a lot to get off his chest.
so now, Sam, you didn't grow up with Star Wars like Dean and I did. I grew up during the prequels. Dean
I
was
grew
like
up
sandwiched
during
in the middle.
I grew up during 4, 5, and 6 when
Yeah,
episode 5 and episode 6 was on just about every 2 weekends.
that's amazing.
Not episode 4. For
So
some strange reason, they never really showed episode 4 a lot.
I think because an episode 4 is
Yeah,
fantastic,
it is.
but 5 and 6 I think just had more action. So
Yeah,
maybe
and I
that's
think
why.
that might be one of the founding factors why ITV or BBC One or Channel 4 never showed it, but it was always fun. It was always funny because it was like, I know 5 and 6 quite well, but I don't know what happens in 4. I've never seen 4, even though there's like some important plot points in it, like the reason why Obi-Wan died is in episode 4. With Darth
Hmm.
Vader's first introduced in episode 4, which is iconic in itself. But I didn't understand the TV bigwigs back then. Looking back, it's like, well, why didn't you show all of them?
Yeah, maybe because 5 and 6 got more views than 4, so who
Yeah,
knows?
not to mention everyone
But,
loved Empire Strikes Back. I think we
but
should
Sam,
get on with it and let Sam have his say.
yeah,
I think he's got a
I'm
lot
very
to get off
curious,
his
Sam.
chest and his
So
back.
so you heard Dean and I just completely trash the sequel trilogy
Yeah,
because we believe that it both just, pardon my French, completely craps on 1 through 6, and it negates everything, which is again attributed to
and not to
horrible
mention
writing
the
and
fact
direction.
that they've literally decided to do Mandalorian, which is 5 years after Return of the Jedi, because that's how much Dave Filoni probably did not like 7, 8, and 9.
Which I also must point out in The Mandalorian, Luke's like 2 minutes in there was better than his entire time in the movies in the
Oh,
sequel trilogy.
definitely.
Nailed
And you
it.
actually have a Jedi that's actually quite cute and lovable.
Mhm. So Sam, what are your thoughts, you youngling?
Now, I've got a lot of choice, words to say about the entirety of Star Wars, not just the sequels. I know we're going through what we think are the worst films later, but
Do not start a Star Wars discussion because once we get in the Star Wars discussion, we'll never get out.
it's bound to happen because I obviously use Letterboxd quite often, and I gave the lowest score possible on Letterboxd to two of the films out of the nine, which that's not ideal because I don't normally like rate that low. I've got 51 films in total as the worst rating, and two of those are within the Star Wars
I'm curious
films.
to hear what two they were.
Joe, I
Well,
have a
we'll
feeling it's
find
not
out
going to be the
later.
ones we want them
Oh,
to
we're gonna
be.
find out. Okay.
I'm assuming we'll find out later
Yeah.
when we
I
do
want
the
to find out
topic.
later, but I think it's going to be the ones that me and Joe actually really like more than the ones we
Uh,
dislike.
no, I think one of them I know you're definitely against, but I have to admit the writing in the last three is just utter shambles. To be honest, I
Well,
just
you
go.
focus on that.
I don't know how the writers have gone into a room and thought, do you know what we need to write, and then have just come out with those three films. I mean, I didn't do it for the first one, but I was telling Joe how I did pretty much live reviews of the three.
Mhm.
Just if I'm see something that I don't like, I'm just gonna write that down. And I ended up writing a review in all caps for one of the films.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, quite aggressive.
Oh, excuse
I
me.
actually blurred out an entire sentence because it was just, yeah, it's not a good film, and I couldn't allow myself
So
to,
basically, it's bleep,
yeah,
bleep, 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 bleep. Yeah, I think
yeah.
I have a feeling I
Wow.
know what it is.
I mean, yeah, her name was Rose, and I'll let into one of the films that I gave a terrible review to. That
Mm.
scene was absolutely diabolical. Like, how do you actually go towards a cannon and think, do you know what? We're going to stop this heroic act, and I'm going to save you. It was absolutely useless. There was no point having, the entire charge towards them if you're then just not going to do what you've said you're going to do. She just
A lot
stopped
of
the
that was
entire
hidden.
point. It was stupid. And then literally like 5 minutes earlier said, "Oh, there's no other back entrances into this cave." And then there was a back entrance into the cave. I was living. I was so confused. You've told me that they've done a scan and there's no entrances, and there was. It's like it's not thought out at all. The I want to meet the writers and just tell them to kill. Oh, I can't say
Yes, we very.
that.
But I entirely
Also,
agree. I
Yeah.
also
entirely
you gotta
agree.
love how in Last Jedi Luke literally chucks a lightsaber over his shoulder
Yeah,
when
I
something,
didn't like that.
and then but in episode 9, because they're writing so well, he also says this is the most sacred weapon of the Jedi. You can't just throw it away when he literally did that in the eighth movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think because Disney also suffered this with Marvel. Disney, I think, thought, let's half-ass the writing or whatever the pre-production for Star Wars, same way they did with Marvel Phase 4, because they just think it's Star Wars. Fans are going to love it. Fans are going to buy into it. Fans are going to love this, and we're Disney. So just give us a whatever script. We'll just do it because people are going to love it. But clearly, like fans have spoken up and said otherwise. Yeah, Sam, you're spot on with that.
Yeah, I think the issue with the ninth episode, I know you've got a lot of choice things to say about that. I think the problem with the ninth episode is actually that the eighth episode exists. I think that just it sent it down a wrong path. If you eliminate that, like I know the writing's bad in, all three of those films, but there was times in nine where I actually thought, I'm actually enjoying this. There's a few good scenes here. Eight was just shambolic. I know the entire scene where, oh, Luke Skywalker's there, but he's not there, but he's a hologram, but then he dies anyway. What was the point in that? He may as well have actually been there to die in person and stuff. If he's gonna die anyway, why send him as a hologram? Why not go himself? It was pointless.
It's kind of like if they could have done something cool and they had the choice, they chose to not do that. Because I think an actual lightsaber fight between the two of them would have been awesome. Like, and then you have Luke die the same way Obi-Wan dies. Then it's like, oh my gosh, he's copying his master. That's cool. He's going to be one with the Force. But no, let's not do that for whatever reason.
So
Yeah,
we also need to talk about the fact he was using the Force while he was dead as well. He was come up with that. He just casually made that spaceship fly out from under the ocean, even though he's dead. Why kill him off if he can still use the Force?
And this is the problem why if George Lucas was here, it would be a lot better. But the fact is, he sold it, so not much
Hmm.
you can do about it. But I have an idea. His 7, 8, and 9 would have been a lot better than Disney's.
Absolutely. I want to give it the Game of Thrones treatment. I think 7, 8, and 9 should just be retconned and redone. It's just sad because, we lost one of the actors. We
Yeah, we
lost
lost Carrie
Carrie
Fisher.
Fisher. So we can never have the three of them in the same room, which that's all we wanted. Oh, so
Hmm.
stupid.
And
But
that's
all right.
and it presents a problem as well, boys, because as Joseph knows, because he is watching it, Mandalorian is set 5 years after Return of the Jedi. So does that mean that Mandalorian is now canon and 7, 8, and 9 aren't?
I'm gonna choose to say yes because
I'm going to say the same thing because Dave Filoni has shown how a Star Wars TV universe is made. He's done absolutely brilliant. Granted, we haven't seen Pedro Pascal that much, but at the end of the day, it's still brought plenty of nostalgia, especially in season 2, season finale, which I'm not going to spoil jokes. I don't know where you are with it yet.
I'm good.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, but yeah,
so yeah, season 2 season finale is absolutely brilliant. I don't want to ruin it for anyone who hasn't seen Mandalorian
beautiful.
yet, but bloody hell.
It's
Especially
beautiful.
when you see who the mystery assailant is.
Yeah, and it's funny because in that final, I'll say those final like 5 minutes
Mm.
is better Star Wars than any of the three sequel trilogies ever did.
Yeah,
And just because Dave Filoni is a good writer, a true fan, knows how to properly further the story. And again, you're seeing a character after he's done this great battle, reaping the rewards, and that he's the best at what he does, and he's a badass. All we wanted to see in the sequel trilogy. But thank you, Dave Filoni, for giving us that.
there is actually one thing that connects a lot of Star Wars universe, and it is Project Necromancer. Which,
What's that?
in short, Project Necromancer is what happens in Episode 9, basically.
Oh,
I believe it was the Emperor's way of making sure that there is still Sith and there's still Sith after Order 66 because the Bad Batch is actually in its early stages of it. Mandalorian sort of references it, but Episode 9 is when it actually happens. Oh,
mm.
and one more thing. Star Wars Battlefront 2 campaign also mentions it as well. It's not that long of a campaign, but it's still worth a look anyway.
Nevada got him. I still want to Force Unleashed 3. I'm still
I
a little
still want
bitter.
that.
Yeah. Um, so before I move on to questions, I would like both your thoughts as well on this because I have my opinions on it too. Everybody thinks 4, 5, and 6 is the best Star Wars, still the best trilogy. The prequels got a lot of crap when they first came out, but now are getting new, like more love and appreciation for.
Hmm.
I've gone on record to say I've always loved the prequels, not only because I grew up with them, so I am a little biased,
Yeah.
but I do believe they did justice in furthering the Star Wars lore. We are able to see, which was George Lucas's goal, what Jedis can do in their prime.
Yeah.
We got more songs by John Williams,
Yeah.
who's a master at what he does. We got some of the best lightsaber fights we've ever seen. It's been proven that although a villain may only have like two lines, he can be iconic in the form of a Darth Maul. So I think the prequel trilogies, although yes, they're not the best written films, but because the story is great and they further the Star Wars lore, I love them. But I'm curious to hear what you both have to think. I see Sam's making a face. I don't like that face he's making.
Let him get what's on it off his mind, Joe, because he's got a lot to say.
What's with the face, young Padawan?
What's with the face? I think the prequels were almost as bad as the sequels.
Ooh, harsh words. Do
I'm
go.
right. Here's the thing. I'm not going to disagree with him on some because the entire prequel trilogy was let down by one factor: Jar Jar Binks.
No,
No,
you can't
everyone,
blame him.
honestly, Sam, back in the day, everyone could not stand Jar Jar. Nobody could stand him to the point where there was actually a rumor going around that he was actually a Sith Lord.
That would have been funny. But
That would have been funny, but
although
one and
to
two,
speak to the prequels credits though, George Lucas listened, and in episode 2, you don't see him that much. In episode 3,
yeah,
he doesn't even have any lines.
you see him at Padme's funeral, and that's it. I
That's
do
it.
think at the time when they came out, episodes 1 and 2 weren't that great. I still think episode 3 is one of the best,
Mhm.
simply because it's when Order 66 came along. So it was a case of which Jedi died, which ones did we see die, which ones survived. And I know not so much the fight between Palpatine and Yoda, because I thought that could have been better and a lot longer.
Yeah.
But episode three's final battle between Anakin and Obi-Wan is just worth the admission for cinemas. I'm sorry.
It's it set the bar. I think it still set
It
the
did.
bar for the best fight. But what I love about that, we all knew that fight was coming. We all were so hyped about this fight. They hyped it up to us. Not only did it deliver, but it delivered more than what we thought.
I would say it
Everything.
over delivered because I think
Yeah.
that literally that fight was more important than Order 66 itself.
Everything from the music to you have Ewan McGregor going at it with Hayden Christensen. They
Yeah.
both nailed their performance. The setting in Mustafar with the fire. Oh, it's just so perfect.
And not to mention the first time he breathes through his suit, you just get chills.
Yeah, because so much pain that goes into
Mm.
that. But Sam thinks they're just as bad as the sequels.
Now,
The
as
sequel,
far as 1 and 2 go, I agree with him, but episode 3, I will disagree because episode 3 was the best. Granted, it's only well known for probably one bit and the ending, but I don't agree with Padme just giving up because if you're a mother and you've got 2 kids, that'd be the last thing you do.
true.
I don't
Yeah.
agree with that, and I don't also agree with the fact is she's lost the will to live, but you wouldn't lose the will to live because you've got 2 kids that you've got to take care of.
I think they could have done a better job with that. Like the fact
Yeah,
that she was almost choked to death when she was like near giving birth.
yeah,
Maybe
that's
that could
probably could have been better because then when she was in the delivery room, she was fine.
yeah, she wasn't getting proper oxygen. Like that could have, I think, been done a little better, but that's still such a it adds to the tragedy of Darth Vader that he
Yeah,
led to Padme's demise, which is why he went to the dark side in the first place. Makes Anakin's transformation into Darth Vader more heartbreaking.
yeah, and a
But
bit more tragic.
yeah,
And the other thing
Sam,
is, General Grievous in Episode 3 is not as terrifying as he is in one set of Clone Wars. Because in one set of Clone Wars, he's made out to be unstoppable.
yeah, in Clone Wars, he's like this, and he
Not
ain't
the
scared. He's an
not Dave
android with
Filoni one,
four
because
arms.
there was actually another one, not Dave Filoni's one. He is in that, but there was another one that's actually available on Disney Plus. I forget what it's called. I think it's called Star Wars Clone Wars. It was behind the same chaps who did Samurai Jack, and it
Mhm.
was a little. It was like 2.5 hours worth of short stories,
Oh
ranging
yes, I
from
seen that.
yeah. That made Grievous out to be absolutely unstoppable,
Yeah.
whereas Episode 3 just has him as like a wheezing old bugger.
Well, I love it because that what you're talking about, Dean, I think Disney just went to a bunch of like Japanese animators and said, give us Star Wars stories. They don't have to have anything to do with the Skywalker saga, but give us stories.
Yep.
And some of the stories that they came up with, I'm like, I want to find out more about this. The writing, the action, everything in this is brilliant.
I
And it's so, and some of them are phenomenal.
yeah, I'll be honest. I used to have satellite when I was at home during the time. Every single time it was on, I used to watch it. I was just like, right, what are we going to come up with next? And but I will
Oh,
say
it's
one
called
thing.
Visions, Star Wars Visions. That's it.
Yeah, but it's actually the Clone Wars that's on there. There's 2 versions. There's Dave Filoni's and I'll say the Samurai Jack lot. But I
Mhm.
really enjoyed Samurai Jack lot. The only problem is it's too short and you want more. Whereas Clone Wars was 5 seasons. And I feel that sometimes looking back, it's a bit too long, but at least miniature Clone Wars feeds you right into episode 3. So even if you haven't seen Clone Wars, but you have seen that, you get the gist of where the journey is and where the journey's ending and when episode 3 starts.
Well, there's actually, so someone put out a list. So when I heard Clone Wars was coming back, I've seen it all, but I really don't want to watch it all again. Somebody made this list of essential Clone Wars episodes that cuts the series in half.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good list because that guy did their homework because it's all the essential episodes you should watch. And I'm still going to go on record to say the last 4 episodes of the Clone Wars, when they brought it back, is
Yeah.
some of the best Star Wars you will ever see.
Mm,
It's beautiful.
it
It's
is.
so well done. And every time they come out with something new with Star Wars, I just love comparing it to the sequel trilogy because it's just crap.
Yeah.
Like saying like, how can they still not have done this when you had everything working in your corner? But our young Padawan here He's not a big fan of even the
A
prequel.
Padawan, soon to be Sith Lord.
Oh, he's already a Sith Lord in my book.
Yes, I can see the Anakin Skywalker growing in him already.
Absolutely. I see those Sith eyes. So, Sam, you're not a big fan of the prequels. Just curious as to why.
Um, I mean, I don't know how to best describe this.
Give it your word. Just say your worst.
The only thing that separates the prequels and the sequels is Revenge of the Sith.
Hmm, that's fair.
I wouldn't disagree with how
Right.
Revenge of the Sith was
Yeah,
actually.
exactly. The reason it took me so long to, get through the Star Wars movies is because the first time I originally tried to start, I started on episode one for the sheer fact I already knew what happened with obviously Darth Vader's, son being Luke or whatever.
Yeah,
So I
and
thought
that is
I'll
also
go chronologically because that's what I prefer to do. I did that with the MCU.
mm.
And I genuinely quit after an hour because it was so boring. I
I
didn't
will
want to
say that,
rewatch
yeah.
on.
I remember even as
Episode
a
one
kid with
was quite
episode
boring.
one, like even as a kid with episode one, it starts off cool, because they're in the ships, but then what the prequels did, they did so much exposition. It was like after the action in the beginning, you had like an hour of them just explaining things to you, and I'm like, what's happening? Just
Yeah.
skip this. Like even I remember when I would have episode one on first VHS and DVD, I would skip after the beginning to the pod racing, and then you saw a little fight after that, which is cool. And then skip from the pod racing to the very end.
Yeah.
Mm. I also didn't like the part where a 14-year-old and a 9-year-old are flirting with each other. Not really an ideal thing to
Well,
have
that's
in
how it was. That's how
that
it was
opening.
20 years ago. It's not acceptable now,
Well,
but back then,
hey Sam,
No, it
things
shouldn't have been
things work
acceptable.
differently on Tatooine. All right, Tatooine's a very different kind of planet. So,
I'm happy we're not in their galaxy. They're not on it.
but no, that is interesting. Yeah, 9-year-old calling a 14-year-old an angel, like, oh, that's.
Yeah.
mm.
And then it's
By the
worse
way, that
when
poor
they're
actor,
impregnated.
Jacob Lloyd, I think his name is, who played
Yeah, Jake
Anakin,
Lloyd. Yeah.
is because of episode one why he gave up acting. 'Cause he got made fun of so much and bullied. He burned all of his Star Wars memorabilia and gave up acting.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair enough, to be honest.
I bet
I,
Sam would have been one of those bullies because he's
I,
a
Probably would have
I
been.
probably would. I didn't enjoy it in the slightest.
like, see, Sam, I can't disagree. I wouldn't put him as low as a sequel trilogy because I still think the prequels do a lot to further the story, but you're not wrong. Episodes one and two, especially, even like the middle of three, there's just so
Yeah.
much exposition and so much like dialogue of explaining, hey, here's what's happening. But it's like, why can't you just come up with a more simple story and give us some more action? But the prequels, I think, are saved because the lightsaber fights are all great. I love in episode two that ending when you see all
Yeah.
the Jedi fighting the droids and then Anakin and Obi-Wan fighting Count Dooku. Darth Maul, phenomenal, great villain, even though he has like 5 lines. Um, the John Williams score, like we would have never gotten Duel of the Fates, and
No.
that's one of the best, I think, Star Wars soundtracks I've ever heard. And you're right, episode three saves it. So I can't disagree with you. But episode one always holds a special place in my heart because it was my first Star Wars movie. And
But
for
I
me, it
will
was
disagree with saying that episodes one, two, and three are worse or just as bad as seven, eight, and nine. Because
definitely not.
because at least episode three, it actually contributes something more than just typical Star Warsness.
Mhm. I agree.
It's literally one big massacre from about halfway through to the end, and that's it.
Yeah, I love it. But before we get to our movie reviews, I have a little trivia for my Jedi and Youngling Sith. Bet Dean's gonna get most of these.
I don't mind though.
Sam, good luck. All right.
Good luck. I need more than luck, pal.
All right. Question number one. I know Dean probably was gonna get
Oh,
this,
how's
Sam.
this working? Like, how are we doing this?
Yeah,
I
how
work in a point system. I'm gonna ask just 10 questions. You get a point right.
Is
We're gonna
it
see
first to answer, or are we DMing you in the Zoom chat? What's the plan?
first to answer. Just shout him.
Oh, great!
I
I've not
don't.
got a chance.
All right. So, who built C-3PO?
Anakin.
Correct.
Oh, I thought these were going to be hot. I wanted to answer, and I thought, oh, there's no way that's actually that easy. What level are we at? What level are we at? Are they all
It's
along the
it
same
goes
level?
from like easy to like kind of. I'm not making them super difficult.
But
Oh,
difficult enough that I'll have us scratching our heads.
Kind of,
So yeah,
kind
she's
of.
typical directed by Dean Quiz, which I approve.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now this one's actually kind of a trick question. I'm going from very easy to kind of hard.
Okay.
Who shot first, Han or Greedo?
Technically, there has been a debate on for years. A lot say Han, a lot say the other geezer who no one remembers. But if it was me, I'd say Han shot. I'd say he shot first. But then again, the argument would be, well, if he shot first, Han would be dead.
can I just say neither?
Well, actually, you both are wrong. Greedo actually shot.
Oh, bollocks.
Has that actually
Actually,
been confirmed by someone?
so yes, so they wanted well actually no, I'm sorry. Dean, you are correct. Han shot first, but they didn't want Han to be as the Star Wars trilogies were rolling on, more kids were watching. They didn't want Han Solo to seem like an asshole. So,
And that's what he was. That's why everyone
I
loved
know.
him.
They edited a shot of Greedo shooting and then Han shooting back like immediately after to make it seem like Han was doing the right thing. Good for you, Dean. That's a second point.
Thank you.
Now, another question. This is tricky. Which one should I ask?
Should point out, this is probably the first time that Sam's actually been at a disadvantage in these quizzes.
I didn't even know who Greedo was until I looked him up.
um, who is the name of, I guess we'll call him the slaver who captured Princess Leia before episode 6?
Before episode 6, when Leia was actually a bounty hunter.
Yes, she was captured by this person, and when we first see her, she's chained up in this person's palace.
Oh, it's not Jabba the Hutt.
Correct. Good job, Sam.
I thought you meant like a specific person that did
I
it. He
actually
didn't go and
thought
do that himself, did he?
I was going to say because
He's
Leia
not
actually
left.
comes into it as a bounty hunter, then she's captured by Jabba.
I even said palace, so I thought that would have been a dead giveaway, which it was for Sam.
It was.
Sam,
Yeah, because she went safe hand, didn't she? Oh, bollocks, yeah.
It
Makes
was.
sense.
But hey, you got it right, Sam.
As I remember
Yeah.
episode 6, she came
I
in.
should just go with. I thought I was going to get the first one wrong. It was piss easy. I was like, no, there's no way. No way it's Anakin. And then it was.
Yeah, that kind of confused me, that last question, because it's like she didn't come in chained up. She came up with Chewie chained up. Then she got captured when she freed Han.
All right, so this one's a tough question. This one, I believe, was said in episode 1. So according to Yoda, how many Sith are always out there at any given time?
One master, one apprentice, nothing more.
Yeah,
but we know that's not true, considering we've played Force Unleashed, and we know at one point there was a master, an apprentice, and a younger apprentice.
Yeah, exactly. Although, is that game canon? I don't know.
It's not, but as far as I'm concerned, it's canon.
All right. Question number, I think we're on 5.
Yeah,
this is a tricky one. I had to look this one up to remember this. What does AT-AT stand for?
Oh, I know this. Oh. If it means anything, we used to give them the nickname Chicken Walkers back in the day. Oh, it's something like what is it? All-terrain.
So close. You're so close.
It's something all-terrain, but I can't remember what the last one is.
You're so close.
It's not all-terrain, is it?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think it was, but I just thought.
Not the first two. It is all terrain.
Nah, I'm gone.
Sam? It looks like Sam's thinking.
Is it artillery something?
Nope.
No, I ain't got a clue then.
Do we give up?
Yeah.
All-terrain armored transport.
Oh, I knew it would be something stupid like that.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, is there a question about what the dog walkers are called? Because I'll never get that.
Oh, that's what an AT-AT is. I thought that's what it was. I didn't know that's what it was.
Yeah, it's the Return of the Jedi ones. The dog ones in Empire Strikes Back are ATSTs, I believe. But it has been. But I must point out, it has been a while since I've seen any of the 9 movies.
All right. So now, Here's another question. When Han Solo is frozen in The Empire Strikes Back, what is the name of the material he's frozen in?
Carbonite?
Carbonite.
Ooh, Sam beat you, Dean, by like a split.
Yes! Come on.
By the way,
Wow.
is there a blooper in there somewhere? Because I actually know the blooper between movies.
What do you mean?
There's a blooper in the Carbonite.
Is there really? What do you mean?
Yeah. Because at the end of Empire Strikes Back, his hands are tied like
Yeah,
that.
has he changed position or something?
He's changed position.
He's like that or something, isn't he?
He's like this.
Like that.
It's like that.
Yeah.
Or like that. But either way, blooper.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Okay. This one's going to be quasi easy. What color was Qui-Gon Jinn's lightsaber?
Green.
It's one for Dean. All right, Dean is at 4. Sam is at 2.
Sooner than I thought he'd do, to be honest with you, considering his. I actually thought he'd do better because he's literally got all 9 movies imprinted in his brain.
Yeah, but I don't. I just want to forget the films, if anything. I don't want them on my mind.
All right. This is it's going to be a tricky question. I know you guys know what it is, but you have to name me the specific side. Which body part did Luke lose in the battle with Darth Vader?
Right arm. It was the right wrist here.
Correct, Dean. Good job. If you said left, you wouldn't have gotten it. All right.
I
Dean is our winner.
I nearly did as well.
Well, because somebody would be like, oh, he lost his arm. Which one?
Which one?
Good job, Sam. You get a big E for effort. You got 2 more right than I ever thought you would, which is that's all you
Even
got.
if you didn't do it based off speed, I'd have got a lot more.
Can you do
yeah.
Joe? If you really want to give him a consolation prize, give him a lobotomy. Because
Sam,
then
I
you
do
don't
get
have to remember
credit.
those nine movies ever again.
True. Now, ladies and gentlemen who are listening on this fabulous May the 4th, or Revenge of the 5th, or the
Revenge of the
what's the
Sixth.
one called? Revenge of the
Revenge of the
6th.
Yeah.
Nice. So now we come to the ranking of the 9 Star Wars films. Now, obviously, this isn't an official rank by what I think are the best. This is just based on the movies I enjoy the most, which I think is how we're all doing it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start off first by saying my most hated one, and the one that I put at the very bottom is Last Jedi. Now, Sam's shaking his fist with excitement.
I actually put Rise of Skywalker as my last one.
No, Rise of Skywalker is not last.
It was kind of a tie between Rise of Skywalker or Last Jedi. I put Last Jedi. So, Sam, what do you put as your last one?
I put Last Jedi, 9.
Nice. Okay. So now, this is now number 8 out of 9 for me is Rise of Skywalker. A crappy ending to a crappy trilogy.
Mine was actually Force Awakens.
Wow, you put Force Awakens.
Because Force Awakens is garbage. It is.
No.
It is.
I think Rise of Skywalker is bigger garbage.
So we've got Rise of Skywalker. We've got what else did you say? Force Awakens.
Right now we're at what's number 8. So for me, I had Last Jedi as rank 9.
I had Force Awakens because it's just shit. And
Dean put Force Awakens as number 8.
The Last Jedi is literally a case of Rian Johnson carrying on what he can because that's not what his vision is. So I've never put him at fault for what the studio wants him to do. He's just literally there to I'll do this and I'll do that. So as far as Last Jedi goes, Rian Johnson is probably the only person in the entire sequel trilogy who's not at fault.
Yeah, true. So Sam,
I put Last Jedi 8th.
What was your number 8, Sam?
I put Attack of the Clones at 8.
Whoa! Oh my god!
Oh my god! No!
And I thought The Phantom Menace was boring. I wanted to fall asleep watching that film. I almost actually did fall asleep watching that film. I got back in from college. I thought, I need to watch a new Star Wars film. I'll put Attack of the Clones on, and I almost fell asleep. It was terrible.
I didn't think any of the prequels would get in the bottom 9.
Bottom 9? Why are they going to be in there somewhere, Jim?
Bottom 9, mate. You mean bottom 3?
That's on the blooper reel. There we go.
That's on the
Wow. Okay. All right.
How do we work out our combined?
I was about to say who's going to. Well, it's a bit difficult because when
Mm.
one said Rise of Skywalker, I said Force Awakens.
I think I've got a solution. I think we say our choices and then we'll like quickly break and collate them at the end because I've got a few very different to you guys, and it'd be hard to work out who's got
Dean, you
what
said
next.
your number 9 was which one again?
Last Jedi, sorry, Rise of
Skywalker?
Skywalker. Yeah, Rise of Skywalker was ninth was my worst.
Yep. And then what was your 8th again? It was
It was Awakens.
Force Awakens.
Also, no, I believe
Sam put
I
episode
wrote
2.
those two as
Wow,
well.
that was a big shock. Okay.
Yep.
So, and number 7 for me is actually episode 7, The Force Awakens. Because although I do think it is horrible, out of the sequel trilogy, I think it's the least horrible because at least they copied a movie that did pretty successful, episode 4, even though completely unoriginal, very dumb, very stupid, killing off a major character, not giving us the original trilogy the original trio of characters like we wanted.
Yeah.
So I put Force Awakens at 7. What do you have, Dean?
And Last Jedi for me is number 7.
All right.
Got an
Now,
idea.
Sam, I'm very scared to hear what you have at number 7.
He's
Number
gonna say
7.
one. He's
Oh
gonna say
boy.
Number 7, The Phantom Menace.
There you go.
Oh my gosh.
Marginally better than Attack of the Clones.
Wow. Damn. I thought.
How would you
So-
like to know these down, Joe? Because we're going to get.
Oh, I am. See, Dean, I predicted that you and I would both have the sequel trilogy as the bottom 7.
Yeah.
I knew that.
Yeah.
I thought,
Bottom 7. You
I
mean
thought
bottom
Sam
3,
would
mate.
too. I didn't expect to see 2 of the prequels down there.
Mm.
To be
Wow.
honest with you, I'm not really surprised they are down there because Sam is as unpredictable as he is wise.
They are poor. The thing is, what the sequel trilogy has is it's like slightly fun at times. I was watching, episode 1 and 2 and thinking, this is boring. Like, I'm sat here, I don't even know why I'm sat here, just because we're recording this podcast. That's the only reason I watched it. I halfway through, what was it? Attack of the Clones, I went and got a few pints to drink. I was bored out of my mind.
So, Sam, now tell us how you really feel. Okay.
Let the hate.
Wow, that's man. Okay. I get it. Okay. All right. So, coming in at number 6 for me is Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Yes.
The Menace for me is worse.
Episode 2 is at the bottom of the top 6 for me because kind of like I agree with Sam on this. There's not really much action in the beginning, which a lot of Star Wars movies start off with some action. And then, it is very dry. You're mostly watching Anakin and Padme fall in love, which was George Lucas's dry writing. The actors tried their best.
Yeah.
But the ending I loved. Ending I thought was great. So, I put episode 2 at number 6. So, Dean, if I had a guess, Phantom Menace.
Phantom Menace.
Yep.
The only one that I genuinely hate because there's too much Jar Jar in it. Nobody wants to see a Jar Jar Binks.
I was Jar Jar
Ending
was more in the second one
good.
more.
Tatooine wasn't too bad. It was nice to see a race in it, which is unheard of for Star Wars.
Yeah, pod
But
racing.
at the same time,
Oh, that was a waste of time as well, though. You knew what was going to happen when he bet pretty much everything on it.
there you go then.
Very true. It was entertaining, and it did have a really nice game on the N64 that came out after that, I remember.
Yeah. So at least it had its uses, so we can say that much.
So, Sam, what would you rank now as number 6 for you?
The Rise of Skywalker.
Okay, here we go.
Oh my God.
I mean, I've spoke out of the fact I think they're more entertaining. Don't get me wrong. The writing is absolutely poor. It's worse than, the first 2. But it's a bit more entertaining for me. You've got random stuff going on that's like, I can't believe that someone wrote this, and I'm laughing because it's that bad. But I'd rather have that than the
Sam's
first
more
one.
entertained at the fact that it's a bad movie. That's why he put it up.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's still a huge insult, but it's a funny way to insult them.
Yeah, like the scene where they go, oh, they fly now? What's the point in that? It's terrible writing. And yet I was laughing at it because why do you need to repeat that 3 times? I get it. I can see them flying. You don't need to point it out multiple occasions.
I knew it was bad when I was watching the movie with my brother, who isn't a film buff at all. He's when I say not the brightest, I mean like he doesn't get things in movies. Like he's one of the people that you have to explain a lot of things to. When he looked at me in the theater, he said, "Hey, I feel like that scene was completely pointless." And I was like, "He's not wrong. He's not wrong."
Yeah,
Sam?
I mean, I wrote a lot of notes down for this. Like,
Oh
Oh
God.
boy.
for instance, why was Ray doing a 100-meter sprint against a jet? There was no reason for that whatsoever. Like, Hughes wrote, do you know what? She needs to run away from this jet, turn around, and then cut it up and do nothing about it. And then she scrapped Kylo Ren, who he's clearly bipolar. He changed his mind about 4 times throughout the sequels. I'm a good guy, I'm a bad guy. I stabbed my dad. It's terrible, and yet I was still laughing throughout. I don't understand it. It's he's
It's
just
so bad, Sam. It's good. I think that's basically your conclusion.
So
exactly.
it's kind of like it's got a room thing going on for Sam, the room. Like it's so bad. Sam's just like, I'm so entertained by how horrible this is that I can't believe that this passed.
Yeah, and General Hook's being so petty and being, I'm the spy. It was me all along. I just don't want Kylo Ren to win. He's a bit of a dick. That was amazing. He's terrible. Why is the main villain just been like, actually, fuck Kylo Ren. He's being a prick.
Again,
But
Mm.
it
continuation.
was brilliant. I love to see it, just running around helping them out for no reason.
So funny.
So where are we
Damn.
at, Joe?
So right now we are at number five. So this is the top five.
So yours is going to be Phantom Menace, I'm imagining, and mine will be Attack of the Clones.
Well, dang.
There
You
you
know me
go.
so well. Yes, I
I
have
told you
episode
we had
one.
similar thinking about
I
this.
have episode one as the bottom of my top five. Dean has episode two. Literally, just Dean and I are reversed.
Yeah,
I guarantee
exactly.
though, if I didn't see, so episode one holds a special place in my heart because again, it's the first Star Wars movie I ever seen in the theaters, and I loved it as a kid. As I got older, I'm like, oof, it is pretty, slow pace, but I love Qui-Gon.
Yeah,
I do like the pod racing, even though it is pointless. Love Darth Maul, but if I was a bit older, I would have probably had it reversed.
yeah.
So Dean, I got you as episode two as
What
the
can I
bottom
say?
of your top five.
What can I say? You first see Sam Jackson break out a lightsaber. Why would you not put that as one of the best Star Trek Star Wars
True.
movies? Sorry.
He finally got to use it, and
The
it's
only thing I
purple.
really regret him not saying is, "This party's over, motherfucker." The one
You
thing
know
I
he
wanted
wanted
to
to.
do most that he couldn't.
You know he wanted to.
He definitely wanted to. He's made like how much is it? He's made like say however many billions or millions it is. I think every single swear word he's got in it has made about $100,000 per swear word. It's
Pay
something
that man the
ridiculous
curse.
like that,
That's
but
it.
that's just an example.
Hmm.
Now, I am really, really worried about where Sam's going with this.
I know Sam's
I,
scaring during this
I'll
whole
be honest with
process.
you, since you guys have come on, this is the first time that Sam has genuinely scared me with a choice of his.
Yeah, I'm looking at his list right now, and it's just making me very upset. So, all right, Sam, what is your
Come
number
on,
five?
Sam, put us out of a misery.
I don't know what to do here, to be honest. I'm genuinely stuck. I'm at the
Hmm.
point where I don't know which to choose, to be
Hmm.
honest. Because I was saying, oh, the Revenge of the Sith's so good, but I'm also thinking the first like hour of it was boring to me. Yeah,
That could be
again,
any Star Wars.
it's the final scene that saves it, and I don't know if that pushes it above the Force Awakens or not.
I was
And
gonna say I'm surprised that the Force Awakens hasn't appeared yet.
I'm going
yeah,
to say I'm very surprised.
I've I I'm gonna stick to what I originally put. I'm gonna go with the Force Awakens.
Good. That makes
Now,
me a little happier.
yeah,
That makes
again,
me a bit happier as well because at least
I
we've got the garbage out of the way.
no, you see, the thing is, I think it was more fun. Yet again, just it was so obvious what was going to happen. They just went with the writing that was like, oh, this is clearly going to happen. Oh, let me guess, Poe is going to actually be alive. What a surprise! In my
Okay.
review of this that I did on Letterboxd, I was like, oh, thank God they finally let Harrison Ford free of this curse. And then they brought him back like 2 movies later anyway, so what's the point?
Yeah.
But yeah, I also with Kylo Ren being his son, that was dead. Guess that off the start. I don't know what it added really. Oh, Han Solo had a
Nothing
kid.
really.
What a surprise.
course he was
Oh,
going to. Han Solo was,
yeah.
gonna bang some Princess Leia, so of course
Mm.
something's gonna
Oh,
happen.
let me guess. Who was the trainer that made Kylo Ren bad? Oh, it was Luke. What a surprise! And then, yeah, it was obvious, but at least I enjoyed the music in it. That is one thing that really
Mm.
helped it out.
Yeah, the score in Star Wars, it's kind of hard not to enjoy, despite how bad the movie is.
Yeah, honestly,
All
Ray's
right.
theme is like probably top two for me in the
Oh,
entire,
damn.
songs
Wow.
from this 9 film run.
Impressive. All right. We are now at our top four. And I'm starting off my top four with episode four.
I
A
am also
new
starting my top four with episode. Hold on. Yeah, I am starting off with episode four, actually.
Wow, look at damn Dean. We're like
Yeah,
I'm
but I
curious.
think the thing is, you have a different reason for yours. But as you know, when I was growing up, it was all Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. New Hope didn't really get a look in, so I watched Revenge of the Sith on TV more than I did A New Hope. So I'm
Mm.
not saying A New Hope is a bad movie. I'm just saying I like Revenge of the Sith more because I've seen Revenge of the Sith more, and it does grow on you.
I think New Hope, because even when I watch it now, the writing's actually pretty good. I like the story.
Everything's
It's a
good.
simple story. They do a good job setting up the world. They did, for the 70s. Imagine seeing those kinds of special effects for the
Yeah.
first time, right? Revolutionary for back then. And you got to give it credit for starting this entire Star Wars universe. Now, of course, the action isn't the best,
Not
but
to
it's
mention the
carried a lot.
stormtrooper that cracks his head on a door.
I love that they left that in, by the way. Banks his head on the door. But like the action isn't the best, but the actors are so good. Like Alec Guinness, of course, kills it. And just seeing Harrison Ford being Han Solo, love it. And it just did such a good job setting up the universe. So I'm very curious, Sam, what's number four for you?
In number four, I've put episode three.
Okay, okay.
Um, I mean, it was between that or The Force Awakens for me, but yeah, obviously I've just said The
I'm
Force
really
Awakens.
glad you went with that choice. That makes me a
Yeah, so
little
am I.
happy.
I
The
think that
thing
would have
is,
been the
the only issue is it doesn't hit as good as the first time I watched it. Like the last time I watched it, I thought, wow, this is absolutely brilliant. This end scene is incredible. It didn't feel that way
No, is he gone?
watching it again. Otherwise, it'd have probably been higher. I think it
Hmm.
was like the first hour that kind of ruined it, to be honest. Because it was
Yeah,
a badass scene, very quotable lines. It just got a bit boring because I've seen it before.
yeah, and again, like the intro of three is great, a lot of action, setting up what's going on, but then, yeah, like after that action, up until, Anakin goes to the dark side, it's just exposition, exposition, exposition. Eh, Yeah, so I get it, Sam, but I'm glad episode three is ahead of Force Awakens.
So am
That
I.
makes me very happy. Now we are in the top three. I'm very curious if Dean and I are
Yeah,
parallel.
I think we probably are because we both
So,
know, I know what both of ours number one's going to be. I know what. In fact, I don't even know what our number two is.
well,
But
Dean, you know what? Then I'm gonna switch it a little bit. What do you have in top three? What's your number three? Oh, three. Actually, no, we're not.
no,
So Dean has episode three in three. I actually
You got
have,
Return of the Jedi, haven't you?
you've got Return of the
yes, I
Jedi.
do. I have Return of the Jedi as number three. Because although I do love that movie, those Ewoks kind of ruined it for me.
Yeah,
Such,
they are the downside. To be
yeah, it was
honest.
just too much. Like I get it, they're furry, adorable creatures, but man, just so much Ewoks. But I
Yeah,
still love it.
don't forget. There's an ATS. Is it an AT-AT or an AT? Oh no, it's an AT-AT. That blows the shit out of them, and that's the other reason why.
Yeah, so
That's why Return of the Jedi is my second favorite.
I remember it being so I when I saw that as a kid, I'm like, oh no, his Ewok friend died. So now, Sam, I have no clue where this kid's gonna go.
I dread where it's going with
What do
Sam.
you have in your number three?
No, I agree with you. I agree with you, Joe. Return of the
Oh,
Jedi at three.
whoa.
Oh,
Sam and I link up again. We both had the same bottom tier movie, and now we
yeah.
have the same third.
Yeah, yeah. I just feel like they're in a forest too much, to be honest.
Yeah, that's why I
Mhm.
still like it. The
It just
ending's
doesn't
great.
feel like Star Wars.
Yeah. All
Well,
right.
I will say the tune to the Ewok, which is annoying.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
all
I
you
I
hear.
also
That's all you
think the
hear.
final scene as well was a bit odd. Because they've obviously changed out Anakin in it.
Oh God,
Yeah.
I hate it when they've changed it. I
Yeah,
much preferred it
they
to
should have
stay
left
the
it. Should have left it be. I know it makes
They
more
should have.
sense, but I should have left it.
I still think I have my original VHS and DVD where they do have the original actor. I want to go back and see. I wonder if they did use David Prowse.
I think they did.
Wow. See, that
I'm
would
pretty
have been
sure
great.
they did.
Yeah, it does make more sense because that's technically when Anakin died.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still think they should have left David Prowse instead of
That's
just.
the only version he knew him as. Why would he see him as a younger version that he never knew? I don't understand why they changed it so.
According to the Force rules, you appear as a Force ghost as you died. So when Anakin Skywalker technically died
Yeah,
was
right.
episode three, although technically no, because then when Darth
He
Vader
was
became
still alive when he
Emperor,
was having all the pins and needles in his legs.
yeah, you can also argue that Anakin Skywalker came back at the end of episode six when he chucked Palpatine down a vat,
Yeah.
that he somehow survived.
Yeah, yeah.
So bad writing. Again, Star Wars isn't known for their writing. Which brings us to the top two.
I'm going to
And
make a
my
prediction, boys, if I may. I have a feeling me and Joe, well, we've already said where we stand. As you know, Return of the Jedi is mine. I have a feeling Sam's going to put Empire Strikes Back as number two.
I have a feeling too, but before he does that and really disappoints me, I'm gonna put episode three because it
Number two.
easily is my second favorite Star Wars film. Yes, the hour after the fight scene is boring, but everything from that switch until the movie ends, it's just you
Hmm.
can't stop watching.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
And also,
So,
Return of the Jedi is sentimental because that actually came out the year I was born. So I do
uh,
tend to favor sentiment more than anything.
there we go.
I still maintain six is better than three. Not to mention
All
we
right.
see Yoda pass away, and then and a bit of home truths as well from Obi-Wan as to why Vader said what he said, because it was all a case of how is he Luke's father? So we actually get a bit of not so clarification, but we have a bit of clarity. It's like also he's Luke's dad, but he never really said it, and no one really mentioned it.
Yeah. So now, Mr. Sam, my heart's
Please don't put Empire Strikes Back
my
at
heart beating out of my chest.
please don't put Empire Strikes Back at two.
What is your second favorite Star Wars movie?
The thing is, everyone that's listening, don't think these guys are genius because they know what I've done. I hinted to that before that I was putting Empire Strikes Back at two.
Hmm.
I just knew it.
What do you mean? I practically told you before that
You
I would
Yeah,
be putting Empire
but it's
Strikes
in
Back at
case,
one.
but it's obviously it's a case of we're sort of us. We'll go by what we feel. You have actually gone against the grain, which means that you are more likely to go against Empire Strikes Back being number one. That's before you even alluded to it.
But the way I felt about it, it's like whenever I watch episode three and I'm like, maybe this time Anakin won't go to the dark side. Maybe
Yeah,
he'll
you have
just
that small
Emperor
faint of hope that he won't.
and live happily ever after. Don't do it. So Sam, okay, you put Empire as two. Why?
I just think most of it was. I mean, it doesn't help the fact that obviously it's like the most spoiled thing in the entirety of cinema. There's
Yeah.
a reason why on Letterboxd, if you're writing a review that has spoilers, it's you have to press a Darth motivator because it's the main thing. Like I knew it when I was 7. I'd never watched a Star Wars film until I was like 15, and I still knew it years before. So the entire like main sequence, I already knew. So there's
Mm.
always got to take points away from that. Um, was this the one with Lando? The first time Lando was in it?
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, you see, I do like Lando. I just thought the entire like sequence before the final act was also a bit boring, and the fact that he also fell from a great height and survived quite comfortably, that also kind of put me off. I know it's obviously not realistic as a series, but I was like, yeah, he's just caught and gone in a pipe or whatever it was, and he's perfectly
Mm.
fine. It's just the point where I can't see that happening at all.
Well, I know Dean and I have Empire's number one.
I have Empire as number one.
I think for me, like, and I get it, that quote, even though it's not a direct quote, because that's actually not the right quote, it's probably the most quoted and spoiled thing ever in cinema. Everybody knows it, who's even people that haven't seen Star Wars. But I can only imagine going back in time to the 80s, finding out that truth, how
Yeah.
shocking it was to that audience. Like, I can only fathom the kind of reaction that that garnered. Also, around that time, for the one of the first times you have the bad guys winning.
Mm.
The good guys just get constantly beat on. And I think that was to end on that is risky, but they pulled it off because Return of the Jedi did such a good job tying it in.
Yeah. And
So
not to
that's why.
mention, if I may add
Sorry.
on, if I may add on, Joe, if
Oh
Empire
yes.
Strikes Back hadn't been done the way it did, there would be no Avengers Infinity War. There would be no Kang Dynasty to go into Secret Wars. So Empire Strikes Back actually went against the norm, and I actually think is more influential in media that's followed.
I agree because up until then you never let the bad guys win. The good guys always had to win.
Even there was never a two-part James Bond movie where Bond was in trouble at the end of it. Granted, you had that in about every single episode of 60s Batman because every single episode was a two-parter, but it's not very often that you have the good guys absolutely decimated to the point where all feels helpless.
Hmm. That's why I think its legacy stands out more than anything because yeah, it influenced Marvel with
Yeah.
Infinity War, and it was just done so great. And that's definitely one of the best twists in cinematic history and one of the most quoted lines ever.
Hmm.
So that's why it's on me and Dean's number one. So Sam, if Empire is not your number one, which it clearly is not.
And what is?
It is just Star Wars, which it's called A New Hope, though, isn't it, these days?
Ah, New
I
Hope.
think coming from Sam, that's quite an honor.
That is. I'm impressed, Sam. But let me hear your reasons as to why you put A New Hope as number one.
I think it's the fact it's just so like experimental. Like it was the first time they'd done something like that, and I don't know if you mentioned it at one point, but how they used mirrors to make it look like his vehicle was levitating. That just seems so cool to me that like how it's done. Because obviously you could do that now, but let's be honest, they'd probably do it like with CGI or something like that. But I also really liked Obi-Wan Kenobi in it,
He was
even
great.
though yeah, like if he was in the entire trilogy. Like, I think that would have been brilliant. He's one of my favorite characters, both Ewan McGregor and Alec Guinness. And then he dies in kind of like a sacrificial way, and I just thought, oh, that's pretty cool. And I think it's probably the best Harrison Ford performance out of the three. I
Mm.
obviously no point counting the sequels with that. He didn't give a shit at that point. He didn't like playing the character, but in that movie, I just kind of enjoyed him more in it. And not you see, I'm not really like I like Luke. He's just kind of a guy. For me, he's not. I know he is the main character, but he just didn't seem like that in any of the films. He was just like the all big and powerful. But it was everyone else around him that I felt actually like made the movie and helped it out. And Han Solo's he's just instrumental, really. Like it's normally his friends that they go to like try and survive or whatever. Obviously, he was friends with Lando and took him there. I, I, I can't I can't explain how much like, I just prefer that film. It
Mm.
set the ground of what the films could be. Obviously, the lightsabers they didn't look great, but it was a start.
Yeah.
It began
Back
the
then you got
entire
to
thing.
figure, imagine being in the 70s, seeing that, you're like, what the heck?
Mm.
That's, yeah. Sam, you know what? When you put it that way, I get it
Hmm.
because it was experimental for the time. It was the only film to actually feature Alec Guinness in it for the whole thing. And I think the direction George Lucas gave him because whenever he's referencing the Clone Wars and Vader, and think about it, he had like nothing to go off of. He told him, imagine it's like your old war buddies because Alec Guinness was in the army.
Yeah.
It was like imagine the Clone Wars like Vietnam. Like imagine it was just, so Alec Guinness. It's just such a great job capturing that with nothing to go off of. And now that we know what he's basing it off, when you watch his performance, you're like, this man had nothing to go off of, and he still killed it.
Hmm.
So I can't argue with you, Sam. Those are some good reasons. But as we've seen in this podcast, Star Wars that started in 77, still ongoing in 24, isn't going anywhere. For better or worse, some people love it, some people hate it, but nobody can deny the impact it's made. And as we're seeing, I think under Dave Filoni's helm, the Star Wars is going to finally head in the direction where I think it should, where it already is. And Dave Filoni's only taking more control. Yep. So hopefully our little Padawan Samwise here will come around and see a Star Wars program other than for an Empire that he really, really, really enjoys.
And he is missing out on a lot. I know he doesn't really watch TV that much, but he is missing out on quality TV. The stuff the stuff where I could happily say, right, Clone Wars definitely going in the film registry, as is both sets of Clone Wars actually will go in there.
I think Mandalorian should too.
Yeah, but Bad Batch is brilliant for animation. But whenever you think of Star Wars animation, you instantly think of a Clone Wars. So I actually would put Bad Batch in fame.
Well, I think by the next May the 4th, which we have a whole year now, Sam, I'm going to give you a yearly challenge. If you could just watch Mandalorian.
You have 3 seasons, and in fact, you've got 2 sets of Clone Wars. But there's one set that will take you 2.5.
I'm just going to say Mandalorian for now because I want to start Sam off with the best. And I know this man's got a busy docket. Because I think when you see Mandalorian, you'll see what we're talking about.
Also, Joe, just to save him a bit of time with Clone Wars, give him the episodes that he should watch.
Oh, yeah, I'll give him that.
No, I can't do that. I can't watch a series where you skip out episodes. Oh my gosh, Forrest Gump's on Netflix. That's off topic.
Oh, that's cool. Well,
yeah, we're talking about that. Yeah.
There you go. All right. Well, we talked about that in our previous podcast.
Quick little callback.
Episode.
So come on then, Joe. How are we deciding this?
Well, since I'm the Directed by Dean podcast, democracy rules. So the ranking in the Star Wars films, Empire takes number 1.
It does.
In the second rank, it's actually tricky. So coming in at number 2 is surprise. It's going to be Episode 6.
Return of the Jedi, yeah.
And then after Return of the Jedi, it is Episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
So then after Episode 3, we have... Yeah, it looks like we have...
The best film.
A New Hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is where it gets tricky because...
All the way down at 4th.
You and I have had near enough the same, and Sam has...
Well, we can put Last Jedi last. Honestly,
I was actually outvoted on that, so that's fine.
Last Jedi is going to be last because that's actually 2 out of 3. I'm just going to write that at the very end. Okay.
Well, here's the thing, Joe. Now, what do we do about 5 and 6? Because you and I had the same choices, but they were just the other way around.
So, where did I put them? I put Attack of the Clones 8th and Phantom Menace 7th. So Attack of the Clones is worse.
Sam put...
Attack of the Clones is worse.
Actually, 5 is going to be Episode 1 because... Well, hold on. Because... Episode 2...
Because you said Episode 1 was...
yeah, it has to be Phantom Menace, unfortunately.
Yeah, so it's Episode 1.
All right.
And then followed by that swiftly, because Dean and I put it so high, Episode 2.
And so now it depends. So what we're going to do about...
Force Awakens and...
Last Jedi is last, then it goes Force Awakens, and then Rise of Skywalker.
What, Rise of Skywalker better than The Force Awakens?
With all due respect, mate, it's not.
I don't think so.
I think it should be... Last Jedi should be last, then Rise of Skywalker. Then...
Yeah, are you sure Rise of Skywalker is above The Force Awakens?
I don't think it is.
Rise of Skywalker.
I hate Force Awakens.
Dean put Rise of Skywalker last.
I did.
I put it second to last.
Oh, yeah, well, then Rise of Skywalker's below.
Yeah, so Rise of Skywalker's 8th.
Above it.
And Force Awakens is 7th.
Yeah.
Yep. So that, from 3 very different backgrounds, 3 very different age groups. Just to clarify again, we have ranking as the best Star Wars film, Empire Strikes Back.
Throw it out.
In second, we have Return of the Jedi, Episode 6. Coming in third, we have episode 3. Coming in fourth, which is actually episode 4, A New Hope. Number 5 is Phantom Menace. Sam's already shaking his head. Number 6, episode 2. Number 7, which is actually episode 7, Force Awakens. Ranked in number 8 is Rise of Skywalker. And ranked number 9, The Last Jedi. So, this has been a fun episode of Directed by Dean podcast.
We not doing the movie haul very quickly?
We're gonna. We may as well just put them in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, for this week's movie haul, we should each choose 2 Star Wars films other than Empire, because we already ranked that one. So for the movie haul, this is the movie haul Star Wars edition. Now we can include any Star Wars film, so it could
except
be
for Empire, because that one's already been done.
Empire's already the Nolan film.
I could move it down.
Actually, Sam, Daniel Martin says that Empire Strikes Back should be in the Nolan film registry.
And yeah, I don't care.
Keep reading on, mate. I've actually got his.
Unless Joe overrules it, but we can't overrule 2 in the space of 2 episodes.
Yeah, we can't.
The guest.
Sam's the guest put it in Nolan film, but Sam's, he's.
I might have to, rethink about it. I might rewatch it some point later in the year.
Let's table that for now.
Yeah, we'll table that. We'll keep it in there. I'm
curious as to where. All right.
Like Joe, I'll tell you what there is as far as what Daniel said about Star Wars. So pick what yours is, Joe.
Okay. I want to know where episode 3 goes. I think episode 3 deserves at least fame.
Daniel said it deserved to be in fame as well. I'm quite happy to put it in fame.
What do you think, Sam?
I'd have put it fame, possibly disclaim, but fame's fine. Fame's fine.
All right. Unanimous.
Minute, boys. Where's fame? So I'll just put episode 3 because we all know what it is anyway. So episode 3 is in fame. I'll sort it out in a bit, just very quickly. So my first one, actually, I don't know what my one's going to be. Actually, you know what? Mine's going to be Return of the Jedi, simply because that was made the year, it was released the year I was born, so it's quite sentimental to me. I'm not going to say it belongs in the Nolan film registry because it doesn't. So I'm quite happy to leave it. Quite happy to leave it in fame.
I was going to say, I think Return definitely fame. It's not quite Dame worthy, but definitely fame.
I'm going to say this about every single Star Wars movie, except for 4, 5, and 6. They should be below disclaim. That's what I truly think about. Rephrase that. 3, 4, 5, and 6 should be above disclaim. Everything else should be either disclaim or below it.
That's pretty fair.
Yeah, I think because I'd rather watch Click than Return of the Jedi, I've got to put it in fame.
Yeah, Dandy put it. Yeah, so
I love how much he loves Click.
He does like Click.
It's so funny. But
Click's
it is
like the baseline for Dane for me.
That's so funny.
That's so weird.
It's a good film. It's an emotional film. If you go into it thinking it's a comedy, it's not comedy.
There's funny parts in it, but funny. The end will leave you shocked.
Go on then, Sam. What's yours?
I'm going to go with Star Wars, and
that's episode 4. I'm assuming.
Yeah, episode 4, and that's the one that I'd put in the Nolan film registry personally.
I would put it in Dame, not
just because of what it did.
I see where it's coming from.
Well, yeah, I mean, it can't go in the Nolan if someone said Dane, and I'm definitely not overruling it.
It's going in Dame anyway because I feel it should be in there as well.
Okay.
But let it be known for the record that James Cameron and Gail Ann Hurd actually have their careers thanks to Roger Corman, who decided to make a Roger Corman-style Star Wars movie. So if Roger Corman hadn't have made Battle Beyond the Stars, there would be no James Cameron, there would be no Gail Ann Hurd. Actually, do you know what? Because of that, I'm actually tempted to put it in the Nolan film registry, actually.
Yeah. I mean, if you put Star Wars in the Nolan film registry, I will definitely not move The Empire Strikes Back down.
I mean, you know what? You guys persuaded me. I think we should put 4 in there. Because of its
like Sam said, It's the culture. It's how everything starts. It's how it started.
Right.
Yeah,
And
It
it's
started back in
it's
77.
obviously the effect of it as well.
Yeah. And
yeah,
that
and
movie had
Empire Strikes Back can remain there for now. I'm not even a
done.
real.
I had to sacrifice Joe. I'm sorry, but now that we've got Empire where it should be, I'm happy with that.
No, that's fine. I'm good with it.
So this is going to be the fun lot. So are we doing one more, or is that it?
I think that's it for now. I think we did a lot of movie talk this week
Mm.
and on this episode. And
Just
also, it's May the 4th. So everybody's going to want to do some Star Wars stuff anyway today.
yeah, that's lovely. Right. Well, in fact, Joe, since you're still doing this, you can finish everything off.
Well, everybody, I would just like to say this has been a fantastic episode of the Directed by Dean podcast from a podcast very, very far away. I have been your host, Joseph Barra. Before we leave, we cannot leave without giving you our socials. So I'm going to start off with Obi-Wan Denobi. Actually, you know what?
I
No.
am back. I've just quickly used the force to go into my kitchen. So
Gotcha.
you can find me on Directed by Dean on Instagram. You can also find me on YouTube on Directed by Dean as well.
All right. And to our young Padawan, our young apprentice who's on the fast rise, becoming a Jedi Knight.
Who's not quite at Sith yet, but is not very far from it. So I think
he's on the gray, teetering more towards the dark
light side for the time being.
Why would anyone want to be a Jedi when you can, be like Darth?
But then again, Sith only know suffering, and even they don't have happiness.
I think it's so dumb that the fact that if you use your emotions to fight, that practically makes you a Sith.
Technically, they say Mace Windu actually had both light and dark side qualities. That's why he's the only guy with a purple lightsaber.
Is that a race thing, Dean?
No, that's just how it is.
Okay.
That's why he's the only one with a purple lightsaber. It's actually been documented that that's the reason why.
Oh, yeah, okay. I get what
Before
you're
we
saying,
get too
dude.
controversial on this podcast,
Next time hasn't been controversial already.
Yeah, I should probably do my socials at some point. So if you're trying to find me, my is Mass Murdoch. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Letterboxd. If I'm on it, that's what my will be. Unless I change it, which I am debating still.
All right. And you can find me on Instagram at Joe J. Barra. Everyone, thank you so much for listening. We hope you're having a fantastic Star Wars day. Do something Star Wars related. Let us know. DM us if you listened, whatever you want us to talk about in the next episode. And until then, may the Force be with you all.
May the Force be with you all.
May the Force be with you.